Okay, welcome to our lesson on buying a car. And we are going to look at three or four different areas of buying a car. Buying a used car, buying a new car, or leasing a car. And then regardless of how you obtain the car, what you should do to maintain the car to make sure it runs good and that you're not constantly running back and forth to a mechanic. So let's start out with some general information. First of all, it's a major decision, okay? Because the car is something that we need, we rely upon, and it's a lot of money. So it is a major decision. So you don't want to spend too much on your car just for a status thing, because that's just kind of silly. But on the flip side, you don't want to be too cheap and buy something that's going to fall apart and is going to be completely unreliable and be more of a headache than it's worth it. Okay, so you got to keep those things in mind. For some people, I've known friends that have plenty of money, could fully afford to buy new cars all the time and buy pretty expensive cars, but they don't, because they just don't value a car that much. They want a car that looks decent, that's reliable, and gets them to where they need to go, and they'd rather spend their extra money on things like vacation or clothes or whatever. Some people, their car's their thing. I want the 2013, I want the latest and greatest thing. So it's just a matter of an opinion, but no matter what, okay, your car's got to be reliable. I will tell you, if you haven't already experienced it, that having car trouble, it just stinks. It's a headache for you, your family, and you want to avoid it. Okay, so we are going to properly maintain our car to try to avoid those things. Okay, sometimes car problems are unavoidable. Most times you can prevent them. So let's start out by looking at a used car and just the pros and cons that we can look at. Obviously, used cars are going to be less expensive than a new car. And I can actually change that while you are watching me proofread. Okay, so it's less expensive than a new car. And sometimes with a new car, there's no miles on it, and someone drives it, and 100 miles into it, something goes wrong with the brakes or the engine. It's never really been tested. So sometimes there's major issues that can pop up, early in a new car's life that you wouldn't have to worry about if it's a used car. So, but that's pretty much it with a used car. It just pretty much it comes down to saving money as far as the pros go. All right, there are a lot of cons to a used car. If those latest and greatest electronics and all that stuff is important to you, well, you're probably not going to have that. Higher mileage cars tend to need repair more often. So if you're buying a car that has 80, 90, 100,000 miles on it, it's sad to say, but they're kind of like people. Okay, the older we get, the more repair we need. So the same thing with cars. And with a used car, you're not going to get a warranty. So those repairs are going to come out of your pocket. There are places like CarMax.com that will offer a warranty for a limited time, but for the most part, you're on your own when it comes to used cars and repairs. And then you have to make sure you know who you're buying it from. Okay, you jump out on Craigslist or go on eBay, or you buy it because you saw a car with a sign in it. You don't know who you're buying it from, how reliable they are trustworthy. Okay, you can take the car to a mechanic, maybe have them check it out, but it's just kind of scary to buy it from some random person. Okay, so I'm going to show you here a couple websites I have up. First, let's talk about price of a used versus a new car. And here we have some Hondas. Okay, it's through CarMax. So 2010 Honda with only 34,000 miles on it, and that's not a lot. You're under $18,000. If you're willing to jump down to a 2007, now you're down to only 45,000 miles. That's not a lot. You're down to under 14,000. Okay, so for about $14,000 to $17,000 for a good used Honda. All right, if we jump over and say, hey, no way, I want the brand new one. Okay, here we have a 2012. So, 2013s will probably be coming soon, but here's a 2012 with not a lot of crazy extra things on it. A couple extras put in here, but you're looking at $27,000. So that's anywhere from a 13 to $10,000 increase on just going back a few years and getting a used car that's only a few years old. So you really are going to pay the price if you want a new car. All right, you're gonna have to pay for it. So I wanted to show you that, just the exact same car going back a few years. You can really save yourself some money. Okay, and then lastly here for used cars, when we talk about reliability, we have something called Carfax, which I'm guessing you've seen commercials. Okay, so you never know where a car's been, who's driven it, what kind of accidents it's been in, where that thing's been before you get it. So Carfax is a great service. Now it's not free unless you are buying a used car from a dealer, and you should demand that they show you the Carfax, like the commercial says, for no cost. Okay, because if they can't buck up 20 bucks to sell you a car, then you probably don't want to be buying from them. But if you're buying from somebody on Craigslist or on your own, you may have to do that. So Carfax, okay, it's this very simple website, and each car, no matter used, new, whatever, has a VIN number, a VIN, vehicle identification number. And it's kind of like how you and I have a social security number. No two people in the country have the same social security number. Well, the same goes for cars. No two cars have the same vehicle identification number. And it's right on the car in your windshield or somewhere around there on your car, etched in there so you can find it. So you plug in the VIN number of the car you want to buy, right? And you'd have to pay for it. And what it produces is a report like this. So if we look down here a little bit, it's going to show you starting with ownership history. How many owners has that car had? Every time the car's title, which is like a piece of paper that says who legally owns that car, every time that title changes hands, and here you have a little bit about the title, a new owner gets recorded. Okay, so it'll tell you exactly who's owned the car, how long they owned it, and how often they drove it. So a lot of information there. Here's some important information about accidents, and this comes from insurance companies. So has there been any, has this car been determined a total loss, which we'll learn about later? Has the airbag ever gone off? If the airbag's gone off, it's probably been in a pretty decent accident. Okay, so yes or no, what's going on there? Has there been any major accidents? Has there been any recalls on the car? So that's important to know. And then down here, this is kind of scary how much they know. Everything that's happened with this car gets recorded. So it was sold originally, they brought it in for service, they got it washed and detailed, they got some recommended maintenance performed, it passed an emissions test, which would be important to know, and registration renewed. So everything that's ever happened to this car gets recorded. Okay, so you can know, or rest assured, if the person selling it to you is telling the truth about the car, and if something is not right, you have proof to question them on that. So a very wise use of your money to get that checked out. So that is a little bit about buying a used car and the good and bad about the used car and the pros and cons of the used car. And then in our next video, we'll talk a little bit about buying a new car. Oops.